biggest games, the best performances, expert analysis. You are Locked On Now.
Welcome in. You're listening to another edition of Locked On Now, local experts on the biggest stories throughout the NFL. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thanks for making Locked On Now your first listen every weekday. On today's show, the NFC has plenty of teams in need of a win to either stay on top, stay afloat, or try to get back in this thing in the middle of the season. From the top to the bottom of the conference, our Locked On NFL hosts have the keys to victory for the teams fighting for wins in Week 7 in the NFC.
The biggest game.
Might be hard to believe it, but only one NFC game this weekend is going to have a pair of 500 teams playing. That's going to be the Bears and the Bucs. Tampa Bay is the clear favorite, of course, but Chicago won the matchup when these two teams met last season. You might remember that infamous Tom Brady play, not knowing what down it was. The Bears, they're desperate for a win after getting embarrassed by Aaron Rodgers last weekend. And Locked On Bucs host David Harrison, he has the keys to what Tampa needs to do so they don't slip up and snap this 3-game win streak.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers need to take a cue from Game of Thrones this weekend to come away with the victory against the Chicago Bears. I'm David Harrison of the Locked On Bucs podcast. This is your Tampa Bay Buccaneers key to victory for Week 7. And coming into this game, that defense in Tampa Bay still very much injured. Antoine Winfield Jr., their second-year free safety, hopefully will be coming back from concussion protocol to kind of help stem the tide just a little bit there. But in the meantime, that defense has been holding strong. And I talked to Scott Smith, the senior writer and editor of Buccaneers.com earlier this week, and he mentioned that they just need to keep holding on because reinforcements are coming. So in pure Game of Thrones style, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense needs to continue to hold the door as they wait for those reinforcements to come, because Tom Brady and that Buccaneers offense should be able to put up enough points. For more on this game and everything Tampa Bay Buccaneers, check out my co-host James Jarko and I on the Locked On Bucs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The Pack is back at Lambeau Field this weekend, hosting the Washington football team, and Green Bay has won 5 straight after that season-opening loss in New Orleans. And the Packers hope a Washington team that has lost 3 of its last 4 won't cause them too much trouble. With more on how Green Bay stays on a roll at home, Locked On Packers host Peter Bukowski joins us with more.
Don't get bored being a good football team. That is the key for the Green Bay Packers on Sunday. I'm Peter Bukowski, host of Locked On Packers. And yes, focus is the key for Green Bay. And this may not even be something we would have to bring up, except in Week 1, the Packers got roasted by the New Orleans Saints in a game that Aaron Rodgers said after the fact the Packers probably felt like they could just walk out there and win it. Now the Packers come in 5-1. They take on a 2-4 Washington team without a clear identity. They've given up 30 or more points in 4 straight games for a team that was supposed to be led by its defense. The Packers are better than touchdown favorites according to betonline.ag, and that number is much bigger elsewhere. If they can stay focused, stay in their lane, as it were, and just play good football like they have been for the last month and a half since that Week 1 debacle, then they are going to beat Washington. Don't get bored being good.
On the other side of things, Ron Rivera's defense needs to figure something out. A unit that was thought of as one of the better defenses in the league going into the season has given up 30 points in 4 straight games. Taylor Heineke doesn't get much of a chance to keep up with those numbers, but as Locked On Washington football team host David Harrison tells us, the defense has gotten better over time, and that could be the key to Washington keeping up with Green Bay on Sunday.
While the defense still isn't living up to preseason expectations, it's looked better in the last 2 weeks, a trend that needs to continue happening in order for the Washington football team to hope to come away with an upset victory over the Green Bay Packers in Week 7 of the 2021 NFL season. I'm David Harrison of the Locked On Washington Football Team podcast. This is your key to victory for the Washington football team as they head into Lambeau Field. The Washington football team defense has 2 games in a row now coming against the New Orleans Saints and the Kansas City Chiefs with 2 or more takeaways in each of those games. They need to find a way to do the same thing against Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers offense. Not going to be an easy job if they continue to have that streak, that run of takeaways in games. They can give Taylor Heineke and the Washington offense opportunities to potentially put some points up on the field in a bid for an upset. For more on this game and everything WFT, check out my co-host Chris Russell and I on the Locked On Washington Football Team podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Coming up next, we'll go around the league to find out the keys to a win for the rest of the NFC with the help of our Locked On NFL hosts. You're listening to Locked On Now. Welcome back to Locked On Now. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens, and thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every weekday.
Let's go around the league.
Matthew Stafford plays the Detroit Lions this weekend, the team he spent the first 12 years of his playing career with. It's obviously going to be an emotional one for him, but he has to stay focused if the Rams want to get their sixth win of the season. Locked On Rams host Sosa Kremenjas has more on how Stafford gets a win against his old team.
The Los Angeles Rams have a combined 7 turnovers this season. I'm Sosa Kremenjas, your host of the Locked On Rams podcast, and my key to victory for the Los Angeles Rams heading into Week 7 here against the Detroit Lions is going to simply be to limit the turnovers. Of course, the Rams have done a pretty good job at doing that throughout this season. They have 2 fumbles lost on the season, in addition to 5 interceptions, maybe a little bit more than head coach Sean McVay wants, especially when you look at quarterback Matthew Stafford, a guy who's played very well this season. The Rams clearly a much more talented unit than the Lions. I think everyone's pretty much in agreement there. They should take care of business in this game. The number one way to do that is to play a clean football game. Do not give the Lions any opportunities, extra opportunities, especially in your half of the field, to try and come back in this game and provide an upset. We're going to see what happens in this one, but I think the Rams should be fairly well off in terms of their projection in this game. For more on this contest, as well as everything else about your Los Angeles Rams, listen to the Locked On Rams podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
The Arizona Cardinals are the last undefeated team in the NFL, and they face off against one of the most dysfunctional organizations in the league, in the Houston Texans, on Sunday. DeAndre Hopkins is definitely going to want revenge in this one, and he will most likely get it, as it will get ugly in Glendale. Locked On Cardinals host Bo Brock and Alex Clancy map out the plan and how Arizona is going to get to 7-0.
The Arizona Cardinals are 17.5-point favorites at home against the lowly Houston Texans. I don't think we're talking about like a revenge game for J.J. Watt and DeAndre Hopkins, because Houston now kind of has become a charity case. You kind of feel bad for them. Arizona Cardinals looking to become 7-0 and take on the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football in Week 8. Alex, I mean, are we getting too far ahead of ourselves? Can you throw out any of the cliches like any given Sunday when you look at this contest?
I mean, there are 2 things that are true. 1, the Houston Texans are an NFL team, so you have to respect them. 2, the Houston Texans are a bad NFL team that you have to respect. So really what it comes down to here, all joking aside, is don't turn the ball over, don't be sloppy, don't give up the big play. There are the 3 cliches you want. Just go win a game you're supposed to win, and then move on to Thursday Night Football where you host the Green Bay Packers.
That's the big game. Don't be caught looking too far ahead. Take care of business against another rookie quarterback, Davis Mills. The Arizona Cardinals looking to go 3-0 against rookie signal callers and improve to 7-0. It's Locked On Cardinals. Bo Brock, Alex Clancy.
It's not quite home sweet home for the Eagles. Jalen Hurts and his team are 0-3 in Philly this season. So they hit the road. They're going to try to find their rhythm again, taking on the Raiders in Vegas. Locked On Eagles host Gino Camilleri is in with the Eagles' keys to getting to 3-4 with a win over Las Vegas.
Gino Camilleri here, host of the Locked On Eagles podcast, to bring you the key to victory as the Philadelphia Eagles travel to Las Vegas to play in the newly built Allegiant Stadium for the first time against the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders have the 3rd highest passing offense in the NFL currently. Derek Carr is averaging 305 passing yards per game in that offense. Look for new coach Rich Bisaccia to get that offense on track at home in Las Vegas. The Eagles defense is going to be in for a tall task to take on a running back unit in Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, that can really hit home as running backs have done here in the past couple weeks. Leonard Fournette with a big game last week. We don't want to see the Eagles do that again. Can the defense continue to stay hot against the Las Vegas Raiders? I'm Gino Camilleri, host of the Locked On Eagles podcast. Fly Eagles.
The Atlanta Falcons feel refreshed after some time off and a win across the pond in London. Cordarrelle Patterson, Kyle Pitts, Matt Ryan, they are now much closer to home. They're going to take a trip to Miami this week. Atlanta has a chance to get back to 500 with a win over the 1-5 Dolphins. And Locked On Falcons host Aaron Freeman has the key to getting that done.
Getting Calvin Ridley back on track is the biggest key to victory for the Falcons entering Week 7. I'm Aaron Freeman with Locked On Falcons. The Falcons are getting wide receiver Calvin Ridley back this week after he missed their Week 5 action in London against the Jets with an undisclosed personal matter. Given that the Miami Dolphins, the Falcons' Week 7 opponent, are dealing with injuries to starting cornerbacks Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, this weekend is a perfect opportunity for the Falcons to finally get Ridley going, who has yet to have a 100-yard receiving game so far this year. The Falcons were able to get one out of rookie tight end Kyle Pitts in London as he gained 119 yards against the Jets. A similar breakout performance for Ridley against a battered Dolphins secondary should help secure the Falcons a victory on Sunday and get the team to a 500 record. For more coverage of the Falcons in their Week 7 matchup in Miami, follow Locked On Falcons, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Sunday Night Football this week features the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Indianapolis Colts. And while some questions remain at the quarterback position for San Francisco, Locked On 49ers host Eric Crocker says it's the defense for the 49ers that will play a key part in getting them to 500.
What's up, guys? Former NFL and NFL defensive back here, Eric Crocker, and I am one half of the Locked On 49ers crew, and I'm here to give you guys 49ers keys to victory as they take on the Indianapolis Colts at home on Sunday Night Football. I think the first thing that really jumps to my mind is 49ers have to take the ball away. They have 2 takeaways on the entire season right now, and they're just not going to win that way. And that's kind of led to the 49ers being 2-3 to start this season. The defense has played well, but the lack of takeaways is making it extremely difficult on not just them, but the offense as well. Now, when you look at the Indianapolis Colts and kind of what they've been doing, Carson Wentz, a guy who was extremely turnover prone last season and really to end his time with the Philadelphia Eagles, 1 interception on the season right now, 9 touchdown passes. So the 49ers got to figure out a way to make him uncomfortable and move him off his spots and force him to make some throws that he doesn't want to make. I think once he does that, 49ers are going to have to take advantage of it and take the ball away. So that's going to do it. That's the main key to victory for your San Francisco 49ers. They have to take the ball away, harass Carson Wentz all night long.
Thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every day. For more on your favorite teams in football, follow your team's Locked On NFL podcast for insight, analysis, and everything you need to know every weekday. I'm Kainani Stevens.